Good day, everybody. I hope you're enjoying life. And right now, it's starting off the end of March, and the sun is shining, and the day is a beautiful one. Right, today I'm going to review UK1 Dungeon Model Beyond the Crystal Cave, which is written by Dave J. Brown, Tom Kirby, and Graham Morris. Now, it is a typical 32-page model with the inside cover having the maps written on there, and it was published in 1983. Now, the UK series of models is unique in the fact that they were very high quality, and this one is no different. And it's also unique in this particular model in that it's not a dungeon bashing model. In other words, if the characters decide to try and kill everything they meet, they're going to pay dearly for that mistake. It's more of an interactive model where you roleplay with the denizens of a particular garden and find solutions to various problems that they give to the playing characters. Now, for the Dungeon Master has to read the model right through, well, at least 3 or 4 times in order to be able to play the model properly. But the rewards are immense, because I've known when I played this in the past that the people who played the playing characters thoroughly enjoyed themselves. And for one particular hack and slash merchant, he didn't have a very good fate at the end of it. Now, the level of the characters in the model is 4 to 7, but there are 1 or 2 in there that make it a little bit difficult to deal with. So I would suggest that 5 to 8 would be a far more appropriate level. Now, in terms of the actual layout of the model, it starts with an introduction. Basically, the idea behind the model is that 2 people, 2 lovers, fled because they were afraid that both the families would not approve of their relationship. Now, it's basically like what's that Shakespearean play, Romeo and Juliet. Anyway, instead of fleeing to another country or another place, they go to an island, and this island is a means of getting to a magical garden which was built many years ago in the past. And the lovers seek refuge there. Now, the people who involved with the family want the lovers back, so they hired a playing party to go and get them back. So what they do in the first part of the adventure is work their way to a cave, figure out the puzzle that is there in the cave, and the means of getting to the garden itself. Now, the beginning of the model gives the kind of effects that the garden has on both the playing characters and as well as the denizens. Time itself is affected. You spend a year in the garden, and you come back out, and 30 years have passed by. Spells are also affected in the garden, but most particularly the attack spells, like Flame Strike, Flame Arrow, Daylight, Blast, Fireball. All of them will not operate in the garden. So there's plenty of role-playing opportunities there, and the characters try and find out which work and which don't. Now, the ones in the passive spells do work, and there are some which help, like Dimension Door will work, but only taken to the astral plane. You cannot teleport out to the garden or move by other means other than your own 2 feet out of the garden itself. So that's the first part of the model. We're going to the cave and entrance, and then into the garden itself proper. And therein you'll have a lot of different encounters. Now, each encounter is more of a frustrating kind of encounter. In other words, you get leprechauns who give limericks, and you have to interpret what the limericks mean. Once you do, you've given clues then about what is going on in the garden, and more possibly, where do you find the 2 lovers. There are other ones there that they're frustrating, like the leprechauns, who cast spells and turn the swords into teddy bears, for example. And there's an illustration in the model of that particular effect. As I said, each encounter is more or less a trick encounter where they play tricks in the party or negotiate with the party or try to frustrate the party in some way or another. And it's up to the party then to try and sort of negotiate their way through. And this involves quite a lot of role playing. As I said, the hack and slash aspect of it will very, very quickly see the characters destroyed, pretty simply because they've got a lot of power. And of course, the spells that the spellcasters usually try and cast simply won't work. So they have to do a sort of negotiation. There's some various creatures there. You've got bears, you've got fire drakes, you've got pixies, and so on and so forth. And there's a few places like a fountain which helps to heal the party should they need it. Obviously, I can't go and run to the fountain all the time because there's a time-limited effect on that. There's treants there, centaurs, and a place called the Water Palace. And the Green Man is a very peripheral main character in that he's the sort of caretaker of the garden, and he's actually a demigod. So anything that happens in the garden is too great of effect if the party somehow overcome the limitations set by the garden itself. Then the Green Man will step in and stop them from getting too far in their slaughtering rampage if they ever go to that particular part of it. The crew then leave the party from the garden to a place called the Palace of Spires, where they have to work through each room or each part of the castle, or palace really, and find the lovers there, and then work out how to get the lovers out of the palace and then back into the real world. Now hopefully if the characters do this in good time, then perhaps a fortnight, maybe a month at the very most would have passed. But they spent far too long there that you can talk about years passing in normal world, so they may come back then to a place which is completely different from the one that they left. The last part of the model after the palace is the appendixes, which have new monsters, Mudmen, Barkbear, the Green Man himself with a detailed explanation and so on and so forth. Then you hand up the character roster, which is if you haven't got a chance of rolling up your playing characters, then you can pick a character from this roster and the appropriate magical items. As I said, it's a 32-page model, but it packed quite a lot into this model, and there's loads and loads of encounter areas which involve their own particular problems and, of course, the solutions that the playing characters will have to come up with. It's a bit of trial and error for the playing characters, but eventually we'll find a way, provided they go the diplomatic route. If they go whole hack and slash and kill and slay, then they're going to get very, very short shrift with the model indeed. And it's not rewarding any of that sort of play. The rewards are there for good role playing and good problem solving solutions. As a result of that, once the playing characters realised that this is what the way this way model is going to go, then they had a lot of enjoyment out of it. I myself enjoy playing it as well, and I enjoy the way it's done, the characters and the creatures and the solutions and the situations the creatures are placed in. Each of them was very carefully picked for that particular area, and the kind of things they do will also take into consideration in terms of the monster manual and then in the model itself. Now, typically of the high quality of UK models, and this one, UK one, is the first one, the Beyond the Crystal Cave, and it shows that it's really, really good. And it's up to judge and set this up against the kind of models were brought about at roughly the same time by the Americans. In a lot of cases, the Americans bought some real gems, but they also bought some to Ross. It seems to be a consistent theme running for the UK models is the fact that they are of a very high quality and very enjoyable to run, with a lot of unusual ideas, which are normally different from the mainstream US models of the day. So if you pick this copy up and play it, I'm very sure that you'll have a very good time on enjoying it. So thank you for listening. Rock on.